So I want to talk a little bit to really start today about Taylor Swift getting her masters back. And this is a really big deal. We'll get into like the story of how this all happened. But essentially, when you're an artist, master recordings are a major thing because music publishing, how the songs are sold and who they're sold to, and do you license to this company for a TV commercial for Ozempic? Do you license to, this movie for a huge blockbuster? All of that stuff, the record companies in the past made a ton of money off of. It wasn't just selling the single directly to the audience. It was all the stuff afterwards in perpetuity.
Yeah.
And some artists throughout the eras have been able to get rich enough to get their masters back.
Yeah.
And Taylor, very famously, I think most famously of all, had hers sort of sold out from under her to Scooter Braun, who then resold the rights, I think 6 or 7 months later.
And that's why she started re-recording all of her albums.
And Scooter Braun used to represent like Kanye West and stuff like that, which is hilarious in retrospect because, but, Kanye and Taylor obviously had a bad relationship. Justin Bieber and Taylor obviously had a bad relationship. Scooter and Taylor had a bad relationship because of it. Now, he's tried to take the quote unquote high road, but I want to get into that in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to write, this is a TikTok by DJ Hungry Human, who I think you'll really like. She breaks down a lot of entertainment stories.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's got a theory about the Taylor Swift masters and maybe that we've all been duped. Here we go.
Okay.
Very surprised that there are not more people talking about the fact that Taylor Swift just scammed the shit out of you guys with all this masters business. Like, let's think through this. She was with Big Machine. She had the opportunity to buy her masters. She didn't like the deal that they were going to give her, so she passed on them. Scooter Braun, arch nemesis number 35, comes in. He buys Big Machine Records. He buys her masters. He tries to give her a deal to buy back her masters, but it includes an NDA. And Lord knows this girl can't shut the fuck up. She needs to be able to talk shit about everybody and their mothers, so she doesn't take the deal. Let me just, as an aside, if you guys went on GoFundMe and you raised $2 million for me to shut the fuck up, I would. I love talking shit, but I love money more. So just keep that in mind. It was really, she just couldn't agree to not talk shit, so she passed on the masters again. Then she makes this huge deal about re-recording all this stuff. She does it at a lower quality. And she says, you guys cannot listen to the originals because I've been victimized by Scooter Braun. You girl power, you have to listen to Taylor's version, which is like a lesser version of all of these albums. And you guys eat it up, right? You're like, Taylor's version, yeah, girl power. Then it comes time for her to re-record Reputation, which, of course, you guys are looking for all these Easter eggs. She's speaking to us. No, she wasn't, because she was so busy devaluing the masters and then buying them back that she was never going to re-record Rep. She didn't have to. She made so much money off of those absurdly ridiculous ticket prices on that tour that that's like chump change to her to go buy the masters back. By the way, Scooter Braun still made $100 million off of those masters, right? So is this really some huge girl power victory? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But anyways, it worked out perfectly for her because you guys bought multiple albums. You bought 2 of the same exact album, probably more than 2 versions of the same exact album. Honestly, the most offensive part to me was that she released that letter that was like 18 paragraphs too long.
Okay, so I wanted to present an ultimate haters version first, because we've got Taylor's version, we've got haters version, and we are gonna. Stephanie is steaming over there in the corner. Yeah. She's so mad. I wanna sift through this because that was the ultimate hater version, and I'm sure you've been bombarded with the Taylor version. And I know Steph is like. Producer Stef is like ready to lunge.
Yeah, mega fan
Steam
over here.
Steam is coming out of her ears and her eyes.
I'm really upset that we even gave that airtime. To be fair.
Right.
Yeah, you are you're loyal. You're too loyal sometimes to
I
Taylor
am
Swift.
loyal.
Where did you fly to see her?
I went to go see her in Portugal.
Just casual.
Just
skip in and jump over to Lisbon.
I'll pop over to Lisbon and get that done. So Scooter Braun has released a statement because this was like a big story. He said it's 5 letters long or 5 words long. I am happy for her. That's what he said.
Okay.
Now, remember that this, as she kind of broke down in that video, Braun bought these in 2019. He resold them to a company called Shamrock Capital for $300 million. Basically, contrary to the previous false report, there was no outside party who encouraged this sale, because Scooter Braun tried to put in there that he encouraged Shamrock Capital to sell them back to Taylor. Because he's a good guy, that Scooter. Real good guy. listen, anybody in the music industry who says they're a good person, I'm like,
I don't think Scooter's
are
a
you?
good person. I think that he's a very aggressive businessman. I don't think he's a good person. I don't think he's a bad person, but I don't think he's a good person.
The source told People magazine, Taylor now owns all of her music, and this moment finally happened in spite of Schooner Braun, not because of him. Now, there were some thoughts that Taylor Swift's music might have been worth upwards of $600 million to $1 billion at this point.
Yeah.
And I can see that, although The Guardian is sort of reporting that might be too high. I don't see how it isn't. But what I do feel like she hit on in that video, and then I want to get your thoughts on this, is Taylor did re-record all of her songs and got a bunch of music. And even I was on that. Like my daughter like loves Taylor Swift. I would always play Taylor's version.
Yeah.
I want to make sure the money went to the right place.
On Virgin Radio when we were doing mornings, we were like celebrating the songs as they were released, getting all the album news. Like it was humongous news.
And I wonder if the albums being re-recorded, not only did they devalue the masters in a way, although I have to be honest with you, there are, especially if you're a Taylor Swift fan, I think you are glued to the originals, right? The originals are the ones that hit you, and there are little details in that aren't replicated in the new ones, right?
Yeah, the originals, you listened to them at a time in your life that you can't really replace listening at that time.
Yeah.
But it also was nice to like hear the Taylor's version with her matured voice because she was so young.
Yeah.
When she recorded a bunch
child.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the only two albums that haven't been redone are Reputation and her very first album when she was like a kid. And so I'm wondering, it seems like the Eras Tour and these re-records paid for this. Like it seems like she's not out of pocket a dime because she made so much money on that Eras Tour. She basically created like this incredible, instead of going out and getting like an outside investor or something like that, she was her own outside investor, put a big tour on stage and was kissing her boyfriend at Super Bowl and all that stuff. And now has bought her own masters back. And I feel like, I don't know, you feel, what?
I just want to know if now that the score is even, the bank account, like everything has been balanced, and she notoriously,
the bank account's been balanced.
Well, it has, but like celebrated her staff really well, like on the Eras Tour. Like she gave everybody a lot of money.
Them like thousands of dollars bonuses.
But now that it is all fair and square, will the fans get a cheaper tour next time?
No, nobody gets a cheap tour. That's a Ticketmaster thing, though.
Right. And that's fair. But I don't think that Taylor's lying. I don't think that Scooter's lying. I think it's somewhere in between. I think that maybe there was ability to buy the masters back originally, or like, have some sort of softer resolution. But I think there was a fantastic public story that she could tell and paint a picture of her having, she said like the villain, right? And like the heroic arc, and like, I'm going to re-record these masters and be celebrated. And Jesus, it worked. We all ate it up. And like, I can't even blame her for that. I can't blame her for that.
Can you
if
say,
that's true?
Well, because there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, she had this plan from the beginning. I'm like, I don't think I don't
think anybody can be that methodical.
No.
I don't think anybody
could have, I mean, you think about 6 years ago, the Eras Tour 6 years ago would have been like, sure, she could go on big tours, but the Eras Tour became like a pop culture phenomenon. It saved the United States, they say, from recession because every city it went into was such an economic boom.
It helped our economy in Toronto, Canada, like massively.
Huge.
I don't think that it was methodically planned out. I don't think she's a mastermind in that capacity. But do I think that she pivoted each time? Like, I think she capitalized on how things were going as it was happening. I don't think she had it all blue. I think that will be like a level of evil. And I don't think Taylor Swift.
That's sort of Machiavellian.
I don't think Taylor Swift is evil. So I think that she's incredibly brilliant, sometimes like frustratingly so when it comes to business, and has people around her that can make decisions, again, to pivot that benefit her. But I don't think she's evil. I'm very frustrated with how much money fans are like losing to see her live, but they're also paying it, right?
Well, that's
the thing.
Now, Steph, would you consider that, because it was not cheap to see Taylor Swift. Would you consider that money, like, were you resentful at all in spending it?
Absolutely not.
Nah, see?
Okay, but here's my question. And I can't quote the exact place or the numbers, but didn't Lady Gaga a couple of weeks ago do like a massive, like 2 million people in Brazil or something?
She did, yeah.
It was free.
On a beach, yeah.
It was free,
beach.
correct?
Was it a festival?
Yeah, it's some sort of festival.
So it was free.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Taylor's free show?
I don't think Taylor operates like that. And I
Why?
She doesn't need a free show.
She doesn't need a free show.
I don't need to go to see a free show of Taylor with 2 million people.
But I think that maybe down the line that could be a way to be like,
here's a free. I think she's always operated.
She gave us a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not saying that what she gave you before that you paid for is not bad, but I'm just saying, at what point does she have enough money?
I don't think that's up to anybody.
For somebody to say that, like, that her fans, because they are and I'm just speaking hypothetically, that her fans are number one. Her fans are ride or die. Your example, like you went to Antarctica to see her last time. But I wonder when the switch happens where an artist is like, we re-recorded these masters together. You rode for me, like the Scooter Braun situation, etc. I love you. You have loved me. Let's come together, not at $700 a ticket.
I think,
and I know
I think a free show does nothing to assuage that. Because, okay, so she goes and she does this free show and then she goes back on tour and the tickets are $700 again. I don't know what that does.
I want to know, I guess maybe what her thank you to fans is.
I think her thank you to fans is the effort she puts into them.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
the one thing I'll say
fair.
is that she's
fantastic live.
She does sort of not just the live stuff, but there's like, you know, she's created what essentially amounts to like a Star Wars universe, but centered around her music.
You're losing me. Don't bring Star Wars into it. Don't
she's bringing or like, you know, any like Marvel. Like she has like, well, I've got these Easter eggs and this number corresponds with this. And if you know my birthday, then you know this. And it's like, there are things that are very much in that Taylor orbit that I've never seen another artist do.
She's
and I think that's
in
where
a league of her own.
There is it's almost, Steph, forgive me if I'm wrong, it's almost a part of a lifestyle, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Like if I meet another Swiftie, instantly we're like great friends.
See, it's a community.
It's so easy to talk to them. We just bond over Taylor Swift. It's not a cult.
So if it's a cult, it's a pretty benign cult.
When I run into another follower of Christ, like we're immediately friends, you know? We're just
it's like Jeep owners. Jeep owners are like, yeah, you get it too.
I've been trying to do the Bronco wave with people. They won't do it.
There is no Bronco wave. There's no culture there.
I've been trying to do one and they don't do it. But yeah, okay. I get it. I love Taylor. Don't come for me, Swifties. I'm just asking hypothetical questions on how you meet in the middle of your community.
She's always operated as a hyper-capitalist, but that...
How do you feel about that?
She's a great businesswoman.
Yeah.
Listen, and she loves what she does. Music is her life and she has to make money from it. So like, do what you got to do.
One thing I will say is what I think that TikToker got wrong. She's like, well, Scooter Braun made 100 million on this, so this isn't like a win for girl power. I actually think it is. You know, she ultimately... Even though, yes, he made money off of the recordings and, you know, there are disputing reports as to what happened because what Taylor was actually offered by Big Machine, which was her record label at the time, was an opportunity to earn her masters by continuing to create more music over time.
That's like so fucked up. Excuse my language, but like, yeah, if you're a good girl, you can get these things back.
If you sell these things, then that'll count towards your credit too.
Horrible. Yeah,
that's how they were operating. Yeah. So she said, as you said, no, I'm not doing that. And they said, okay, cool. And Scott Borchetta, who was one of the guys that, you know, ran Big Machine and Scooter Braun obviously knew each other. And Scott sold them to Scooter instead because Scooter can't earn them. Scooter's going to pay for them. And they were trying to keep Taylor at that record label, right?
And Scott knew that her and Scooter already had like beef, basically.
Yes, 100%.
I love it. 2025 is selling women's work, you know?
Yeah,
ownership on women's work.
You're allowed to buy and sell women's work, and she bought and she sold it. Or she hasn't sold it yet. She has, I think, done an amazing job here because now, I mean, the Taylor's version of anything, I know it'll just remain out there. But now the guilt's gone. Now people can just listen to whatever they want. And so she's going to make, hey, I like Taylor's version of that song from that album, but I like the original version from that same album in the OG. She's going to make money from both. She's doubled her output.
So, okay.
With the same songs.
Let me ask this question. Does she work with a lot of younger artists?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe that will be her next saga, or like, you know, like giving back in that way, I guess. I just like want to see.
She has, she always brings up like an up and coming artist or somebody that she like really likes.
Yeah, she had Olivia Rodrigo open for her for a while. Did she?
No, they don't like each other. It's Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah. Vampire apparently is a song about Taylor. Because of the
rumors.
I'm not going to the Marvel universe with you on this.
Okay, so here's I'll give you this. This is what she bought. Okay, and this is the effect she's having, because I think it's important. There are two kinds of rights: the rights to the master recordings of an artist's work, and the songwriting rights known as publishing. So she obviously got both. Senior music publishing executives say their part of the business was ahead of the curve, explaining that publishing deals tend to work on exclusive licensing terms or retention period. So publishers pivoted to rights ownership business to the service of rights. So basically, they're making money off of serving those. Okay. And sometimes, 25 years ago, it'd be you'd get 25 years of that. Now it's down to 12 to 15. But if you look at Olivia Rodrigo, made ownership of her masters a precondition of signing with Geffen Records, citing Swift as a direct inspiration. And this is before they were fighting. So she said, Taylor, look what happened to Taylor Swift. I will not sign with you, because she had competing record labels. Yeah. I will not sign with you unless I own my masters. So she owns her masters. Zara Larsson from Sweden bought back her entire music catalog and set up her own record label. And Dua Lipa has also, in November 2023, acquired her publishing and she also bought part of the management company she left in 2022. Dua Lipa, don't bring her into this. And it's crazy because this has happened many, many times before. And I wanted to run you through one that I thought you might find interesting. Did you know that Michael Jackson bought the Beatles catalog out from under them? And how much was it purchased for? So it's in the mid 80s, okay? $47.5 million in the mid 80s. Right? Taylor Swift's music publishing was sold for $300 million in 2019. That was the public number. In the 80s, it was roughly the same. Yeah, right? I was going to say. And Michael Jackson, he bought like several artists in that thing, but part of it was McCartney and Lennon, who had originally owned their publishing, but it had been in a joint stock company, and in 1969 they'd been forced to sell it some sort of thing. And so Paul McCartney was going to buy these rights back because John Lennon had died 5 years beforehand. Michael was his friend. He didn't know Michael was bidding. I was going to say, like, did he buy because of personal connection or just because of like music collecting? No, because Michael lived an extravagant lifestyle, invest the money and make money off of that investment the rest of your life, right? And we know that. And so Michael, this is crazy. Michael and Paul were like buddies. Yeah. They had a couple of songs together, Girl Is Mine and Say, 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 which were pretty big songs in the 80s. And so Paul McCartney went toe to toe with Michael Jackson's people about buying these things. And he said, I can't, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, I can't imagine spending that amount of money for something I wrote down on a napkin. And that's what he did, right? Like he would go over to John's house. John was a little bit older in Liverpool, and they would write songs on John's front patio. And that's where some of the songwriting for the Beatles started. And he's like, I can't. Now, apparently he owns some or most of them. But isn't that nuts? Like even the Beatles got affected by this. Listen, we're all hyper-capitalists. Hyper-capitalists. That's why I didn't actually know the story behind why he bought. I just knew that he had bought that. Well, it was so he could fund like Neverland Ranch and stuff like that. Yeah. So isn't that crazy? Anyway, so Taylor Swift, either I think evil genius or force for good. It might be a little bit of both. I hope nobody's that evil. And I don't think she is. She's not evil.
And let me just say one more thing.
Here we go.
Because that TikTok really pissed me off.
Good. I'm glad. All right.
The Taylor's versions were a blessing in disguise because she released the vault tracks, songs that she wrote during that time that she never made the album. So the fans got so many little hidden songs that are now like big songs, thanks to Scooter buying her masters. So thanks. All in all, it's a blessing in disguise. And the real diehard fans are happy to pay for her to buy back her masters. All right. And at the end of the day, Taylor Swift has never left the front of our minds. No, she never has. And that's exactly what she wanted to do. And it's working. Brilliant about it. Fired up. Okay.